Hall of Fame class this year, and we're going to be doing it every single year. Next year we're going to have 5 new inductees that we'll have here as well, and I wanted to kick things off with Mr. Fred Ward. Fred Ward is a longtime old bass angler, professional angler, bait company, tournament directing. He's done it all over the years, and I'm going to come down here with Fred. Round of applause for Fred Ward being inducted into the 2023 Wabash Hall of Fame class. Okay, and Fred, if you can spin the chair around. Hold on, keep that for a second. I'll hold it, spin the chair around so Dano can get a picture of you and I with the crowd behind you. There you go. I'm watching my toes. From Fred, folks.
How long do I have?
10 minutes.
Well, at my age of 82, I have to just give thanks. Most of all, I thank you and your staff for giving me this honor. I appreciate it very much. My wife, Miss Lana, stand up, would you please, Lana? Come up here. We started in, I don't know, 79, I think. That's what my wife said. We started a bass club in Phoenix, and well, from there, we went a long ways. Believe it or not, in that bass club that I started, I had 600 members. And the reason I started it was Ray Scott, Roland Martin, came to town and gave a seminar, and it just really got me excited. And we went and formed a bass club and really had a good time doing it. But I didn't know how to fish. I come in about last every tournament for a while. And, but I have a lot of family that are here that I have a lot of thanks for them to show up. They think enough of their old granddad, and I just have a lot of memories, They go way, way, way back. And this woman right here has been with me just miles and miles, all the way from New York City to Florida, New Mexico, and Washington, Oregon. We've been everywhere, and I'm not sure that was profitable, Billy. Trying to fish so many things, but well, I thank again my family. My family has always supported me. I spend a lot of time away from home while my daughter and my son were growing up in their formative years. I feel very bad about that. If I had any recommendations for you young people, make sure that you take care of your children. And but there's some guys behind me here that I really don't hold a candle to. My friend John, he started right out in Phoenix, Arizona. His dad bought a boat for me, and he brought John in after I'd started this tackle store and boat store, and he was there practically every day, talking to everybody, getting all the information he could get. And you can see what it's done. He didn't get all the information from me, I'll tell you, but he got it from a lot of the good fishermen that came in, and we had a lot of them that started their careers right out in Phoenix. And I'm proud of you, John, very proud of you. And Byron, Byron, you're something special. Byron is so handsome, he could have done anything in Hollywood or whatever he wanted to do. And he got on the Bachelor show. And he won, boy. I mean, he tell you, he represented tournament fishermen to the T. And he was a great fisherman, but he scared life out of me. At Elephant Butte, everybody came in except Byron, and he had everybody scared. And somebody, I think he sent his non-boater in, or somebody, I don't know. They said he's back in a cove way back in the lake. That is he can't make it. So Byron spent the night in his rod box. He was cold, and I always thought all night long that, boy, I should get in my boat and go across and try to. He chose to raise his daughter. He takes her to school, and he brings her home. And I gotta hand it to him for that. Now, my buddy Pat Donahoe, boy, what a great man he was. Just an incredible human being. And he guided for me in Mexico for a number of years. He was the best guide I had, maybe better than you, John. And I had a lot of guides, and I was really proud of them. I talked to him when he got in his cancer growing and what have you. I talked to him almost every week. The last thing he said to me, he says, "This is goodbye. Don't call me anymore." And he passed away. Who else respect? Aaron maybe go down in history as the best fisherman that ever lived. One day that Aaron was leading the tournament, and I wasn't parked far from John, and we were doing tackle. I went over and says, "John, who is this guy, Aaron Martens?" Well, he says, "I don't know, but he fished around me today. He caught a fish just about every cast, went right by me, and I couldn't catch anything." Oh, I says, "Well, what was he doing?" He says, "He was shaking. He liked to shake." And I started shaking after that. But is there anybody left back there? That's it. I just met a great friend, Dave Glebe. I hope will be up here someday. Anyway, thank everybody. I hardly know any of you anymore, but I wish you well. Have a great trip, fish well, and oh, by the way, Billy, you have the best tournament circuit. When I was trying all the things that I tried to do for 45 years was to get a better payback, bigger tournaments, and now you have them. You have them in here in one bass. They are quality. You don't have to worry about cashing your checks. And you know that Billy's gonna, Billy. Well, I thank you. God bless all of you.
Fred Ward, everybody, stand up, please. Stand up for Fred Ward, folks. Made me cry twice, darn it. All right, let's keep this going. Fred, awesome job. Thank you, sir. Okay, next up, did Bobby Ellis make it here by chance? Yes? Bobby, come on up here, sir. Bobby and Pat. Where's Pat Jr.? Right here. Pat, please come over to the stairway behind the curtains. Bobby, you too, sir. Our next induction is going to be for Pat Donahoe. Pat Donahoe was an amazing angler, amazing desert fisherman. These gentlemen are going to be able to say a heck of a lot more about Pat than myself. He's a past U.S. Open champion. Bobby, either way you want to go, sir, there's chairs on both sides. A dedication to bass fishing, to desert bass fishing, warm bass, and to being a past U.S. Open champion. Pat Donahoe, folks, his son, Pat Donahoe.
Just want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank Billy for having such a great event. I'm going to be fishing this year, so if someone's going to get to fish with me. I'm nowhere near the fisherman my father was, but I do enjoy fishing a lot, bass fishing, and I don't know what else to say. I'm very proud to accept this award, and I think it's a great honor, and I'm glad you guys are doing something like this. It's really, really special. Thank you.
Bobby, do you want to say a few words about your dear friend?
Well, I had the pleasure to fish with Pat in 1982, and I was telling my nephew on the way down here how we met. I met Pat through Rod and Reel one day, and he says, Solberger says that Pat Donahoe is not going to fish the Open because he doesn't have the money. And I said, well, I'll do it. I'll sponsor him. And that's how we met and all that stuff. And Pat was so good with all the fishermen. And I don't know how many times he come in second, but I know he won 5 or 6 boats. He won the U.S. Open one time. A great man. He loved his family. He loved being around fishermen. But one of his favorite saying, he'd go up to people and say, I'm not on fish, can you give me a hand and all that stuff? That's what he was famous for. But I want to congratulate WON on their tournaments also. It's great. It's great to see you guys out there. It's great for you guys to get together, do this. And the big thing is, again, don't forget your family. I mean, don't forget your relatives and all that stuff, your friends. But first of all, you need to be safe out there, and good luck to everybody, and thanks for honoring Pat Donahoe.
Bobby Ellis, Pat Donahoe, come here, take a picture with you. Thank you, Bobby. Bobby. Testing, there we go. Bobby Ellis, over the years that I've been running Warm Bass, has been somebody that if I find myself up against a brick wall, whether it's at Lake Mead, Lake Mojave, whether it's national parks, whether it's the Park Service, whether it's the government, when I need something that I can't get done, Bobby Ellis is the guy I call. And he's got the phone numbers and the people that he knows through his years to help and assist in any situation, and he has. There was a year where the national parks were not going to allow us to do the weigh-ins up top up at Colville, but he stepped in, made a couple of phone calls, and the next day we had our way. And so I want to thank Bobby very much for being supportive all throughout the years. Mr. Dobbins he asked me to say a couple words for him and thank him for his friendship and longtime fishing career with Pat Donahoe. He could make it out here, but awesome job. Another round of applause for Pat Donahoe, folks. All right, Mr. John Murray. John Murray, two-time U.S. Open champion, Western region phenom right here. He's now dominating out back there, has been for years. We appreciate you every time you make it out here. You know, my first U.S. Open in 2010, you were here, and you've tried to make every one that you can. And, you know, I had to call your wife and tell her, hey, I was going to do something special, so make sure his calendar was clear so you could be here. And either way, thank you for being here. Thank you for addressing these guys. And your Hall of Fame induction trophy right here. John Murray, a few words for John.
Thank you, Billy. You know, yeah, when you tell Amy we're going to come here, we're going to come here. You tell me, I might not make it. So that's the right way to do it. Anyway, I see my career as 3 stages. I mean, there's been you know, when I stood here tonight, I knew so many people from so many years. So all I know is that I must be really old, because I know a lot of people. But I appreciate all the people that came here, and I just want to say thanks. I'm going to divide my speech into three sections. You know, the first 20 years of my life, starting into the business. I mean, it is a business. It wasn't a business for me when I started. I just love bass fishing. There was no professional bass fisherman when I started. That's how old it was. Fred, you did not start that club in 1979, because I joined that club in 1979, and you'd been running it for about 3 or 4 years. So it wasn't. And you won every tournament I fished when I was a kid, so you weren't that bad a fisherman very long, because you won every tournament I fished as a kid. So anyway, the first 20 years, this is going to be hard.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, this is hard. Anyway, it's my mom. My mom's here. 86 years old, she's here. There would be no John Murray without my mom and my dad. Wouldn't happen. So it's hard. Stood behind me, everything I needed when I started out fishing. All you young guys, I know you've had parents that stood behind you, and that's such an important thing to have. Now, it can be done other ways. There's a guy in this room, Skeet Reese, that did it another way, and I'm going to thank him in a second, but the family support's the key. You know, one of the first tournaments I fished when I was 14, my son's the same age right now, I wanted to fish Bartlett Lake. I'm 14. I can't take my boat. I got a little boat, but I can't take it. I can't drive. My parents drove the truck out there, parked on the bank, launched my boat, and for 2 days or 3 days, I stayed on Bartlett Lake in their camper. They went home. It was a little tiny camper, and I was a fisherman. I mean, that was the start of it right there. When I could stay at the tournament by myself, that was it. The other one, when I started out, Fred Ward, obviously, he said it. I literally was there every day. Literally. If he was open, I was there. And he always wondered, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And Skeet's famous for saying that I've never had a job. I've always just been a bass fisherman. I literally did have a job for a week and a half at Fred Ward Sports Center. For a week and a half, I worked there. Because I was always there, and the guy, we ought to pay you, because I'd help the customers and stuff. And so what happened is, I was there about a week and a half, and I missed a tournament because I stayed there and worked extra on Saturday so I could make a little more money. And Art Price, who was one of my mentors, came to me and said, hey, you want to be a fisherman? You don't need to be in the store, you need to be on the water. And back then, you had to be on the water to be a good fisherman. There was no YouTube, there was no mapping of the lakes, there was no information on the internet. You found it on your own, or you didn't find it. So I quit in a week and a half, and I went fishing. And I spent, my mom can attest, how many years on the water trying to learn the lakes. So thank you, Fred, for the place to hang out. Freddie had the largest Ranger dealership. Then we get into the WON Bass years, okay? And there's a lot of people I need to thank through the WON Bass years. That was the best time of my life in the fishing sense. When we fished in WON Bass, it was the best time. Byron, myself, Aaron, Skeet, a lot of us, Brett Height, a lot of us were there in, you know, throughout the different things, but I was there from the beginning. The first WON Bass tournament, I flew in from Missouri. I was fishing a Bassmaster event because we didn't have any Western events. So I flew in from Missouri to go as a co-angler, a non-boater, and had a fun time, didn't catch any fish hardly, but I made the championship, the classic. And I won the first classic they ever had on Lake Mead. So I was like, that's pretty cool. So the next year I fished them all, and I won Angler of the Year. And back then it was Jay Ellis, myself, Ted Miller, a bunch of guys that used to fish, and it just sort of progressed. So I need to thank all the people I traveled with then. I mean, Byron, obviously, Byron and I, yeah. What am I going to say about stories with Byron? Yeah, there's, you know, I know Byron's already in some Hall of Fames, but this is his first fishing Hall of Fame, so we're very proud of him. We had some wonderful times. Dr. Scott was part of that. He's here. He came down for Byron. Skeet and Kimmy, thank you so much. I met Skeet when he lived in his truck. Everyone's like, how'd you guys become roommates? So we've been roommates for almost 25 years. And Skeet lived in his truck. He had just a little aluminum boat at the time. And we'd have these hotel rooms, and I'd see him out in the truck. I go, dude, why don't you sleep in my room? You know, it's raining out or whatever. And so we sort of that's how we did it. And Skeet started from zero. He had nothing when he started. And then he met Kimmy, and life changed. Skeet became the top fisherman in the country for many years. Country, not West, country. Skeet will be inducted in the Hall of Fame in Springfield very soon. We know that. Thank you, guys. There's no Western fishing for me without Aaron Martens. There's not. He is the best fisherman I've ever met. Always will be, without doubt. Leslie, Carol, all of us used to, the tournaments were not the same without Aaron. So I have to thank them for their friendship, and I appreciate everything they've done. I gotta get some water. Can I get a little water real quick? As long as I don't talk about my mom or Amy, I'm pretty good. It is. So anyway, the only thing, we came into the last section of my life. I moved to Tennessee. I started fishing Bassmaster for a lot of years, 17 years or so. Fish major league fishing now. We live in Tennessee. We moved out of Arizona, moved out of the West. I think it's very important for us to live back there, cut down my driving time. But I miss the West. I don't care what the fishing is, good, bad, or indifferent. I have to fish the West once in a while. So there's a lot of guys. Obviously, Brett Height, Rusty Selesky, Stevie Molinari, Mark Poe, all the guys that I knew present day. I mean, I think Brett was a little young kid. Klinger was our little young kid that used to hang in our house. Timmy Klinger would just hang out with us, and we're like, why is this kid here? Then he started whooping all of us. We're like, yeah, we need to get him out. But yeah, my best story about Aaron Martens, I was going to say it a couple years, last year at an event. I couldn't say it because of his daughter talking. She sort of got to me. But they had a big tournament in Arizona. They're going to give away 6 boats, and it was invite only. Everyone, it was like $5,000, $3,000 entry fee, 6 boats, 50 guys. Great tournament. They gave us, I was part of the sponsor deal, they gave us a few invitations to give to guys, right? And they're like, get some of these rich guys that don't know how to fish. It's just gonna be a donation for you on Lake Pleasant, because I was good on Lake Pleasant. So at the end of the tournament, I gave one to Byron, and I gave one to Aaron Martens. And, they're my buddies. So they came to the tournament, and Byron led the first day. That wasn't good. They're all looking at me like, why'd you invite Byron? Okay. Well, we fished 3 days on Lake Pleasant. I had a great second and third day. I had a giant bag the last day. I come in, and I get second. And you know who won? Aaron Martens. Aaron Martens caught an 8-pounder. No one caught 8-pounders. Aaron Martens had the biggest string of the tournament. He won easily. And everybody said, the general manager of the dealership said, why in the hell would you invite Aaron Martens to this tournament? And I said, I just want to see what he do. That's it. And that was my career with Aaron Martens. I'd want to see what he did on every lake. Wherever we were, how'd Aaron do? What'd he do? And he'd tell you. He'd tell you exactly what he was going to do to whoop you. He'd give you the baits. He'd still beat you. So that's what I miss the most about Aaron right now, is I don't have that guy that, hey, what would Aaron do? Because we don't know. We do not know what Aaron would be doing on these tournaments. The last one, I got to think, this is going to be tough. Amy and TJ, stand up. My wife, my son. Have a life. Thank you. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great tournament. I hope to draw a couple of you. And, man, I'm looking forward to it. I do have to thank Billy for putting this together. I have to thank Harvey Naslin for starting this deal. Harvey's the one that brought fishing back to the West. And I want to thank Mike Kennedy. He carried the torch till Billy got over. So, yeah, we've had a great run at One Bass. And, still probably the most fun I've ever had in fishing. My life now is the best. My wife, though.
Round of applause for John Murray, folks. A little bit about them from each of the guys up here so far. They already used a couple of things I was going to use, so doesn't work. But without further ado, our two-time U.S. Open champion, Mr. Byron Velvick, folks. Good friend, phenomenal fisherman. Are you going to do that first? Yeah. Okay, so Livingston was doing a little deal with collecting some information, and 5 lucky people were going to win pro packs from Livingston Lures, right?
Yeah, Livingston's doing a thing. Everybody that filled it out, they're doing 5 pro packs, or 4 pro packs. We're drawing 4 names tonight.
All right, so 4 names. First name, Gage.
Gage Albee?
Is it Albie? Yeah.
Albee?
Gage Albie?
That's my boy.
Your boy?
Yeah, he had to go.
Okay. You can take it for him. Don Dethoff, right up front. Okay.
There you go.
Chris Ami. Kaylin. Last 4 digits of their phone are 4412.
That's a good way to do
Are you here?
No.
I can't read the last name. Kaylin? Is that you? Okay. Okay. And then last one is Julian Vargas. Julian Vargas, one of the kids? Awesome. So after Byron gets done, you'll meet him over at the Livingston booth, right? You 4, please. All right. Without further ado, Hall of Fame inductee, Byron Velvick. This should be fun.
This should be fun. I can't believe this. Again, I was surprised when you called, and I was honored and thrilled, and thank you for the invitation to be a part of this.
Exactly how it went, but
it wasn't how it went? I don't remember exactly. I wanted to make a joke about him banning live scope for this tournament, but he said that's too sensitive. And I said, all us old guys need to not have live scope. I'd like to do let's have a vote of how many guys don't want everybody fishing with that darn electronics that I still haven't been, I can't figure it out. But then I wasn't born in the 90s. I have no idea what's going on out there with my electronics anymore. But
time's up. That was cool.
Wow, that was quick. I got cut out. My mom's watching. I want to say hi to my mom. She couldn't be here, unfortunately. She's in her 80s and she's not capable of coming to these events. Unfortunately, I would love to have her be here. Steve Oliver raised me as a dad. He was a mentor of mine. And he was supposed to be here, and he ended up in the hospital 2 days ago. So I'm struggling with the guy that was the closest thing I had to a dad in the hospital, and so we're videotaping for him as well, because he's pretty much a big part of this speech that I put together, because he was such a big influence for me. And I got to tell you guys, Zona and I share something in common. Do not take those notes. Oh my God, please don't take those notes. Zona and I share something in common. If you put a camera in front of us, we're fine. I can talk on a camera, but public speaking is the worst thing in the world for me and Zona. And I know people that are great professional speakers, and they hate a camera in their face. Put a camera in my face, I'm like, I'll talk to a camera, it doesn't bother me. But sitting here in front of you guys, this room full of people, everybody's staring at me, I had to take medication before I even came up here. Dr. Scott, hey, is this stuff going to relax me so I don't faint? Thank God for Dr. Scott right here, and Skeet and Dr. Scott. They go, it's another story right there with medication. My mom's watching. I want to go into my early years, and again, like I said, I got a long memory of being involved in tournaments. I was a kid growing up with Steve Oliver. I was just a little kid in a neighborhood. My dad left when he was young, and I had this guy that had this real shiny bass boat in the neighborhood where my mom lived. And I was telling Rick Clunn, we're staying together, and I told Rick Clunn the story about how I met Steve, where I was just walking to go fish for koi. There were koi in this pond in Huntington Beach, really beautiful koi. And we figured out if we took dough balls and went to this pond after the park was closed, and it was an industrial park, dentist offices and corporate offices. And I'm a 12, 13-year-old kid. I just want to feel something tug on my line, and we could get these koi to eat our dough balls. And, you know, we didn't have the luxury of having a bass boat at an early age and fishing in Arizona. Like, he had all this great. So I had to wait till I was 16 to fish my first tournament, you know, and I remember being a bag boy at Cottonwood Cove, and I was fishing around the marina, and then I'd go out to the contestants, and the first time I met Fred Ward was I got out there on the dock, and I was handing out bags, and I'll never forget, I walked up to Fred Ward, and I go, "Hey, Mr. Ward, do you need a bag?" And Fred's like, "Well, of course I need a bag." Like, I catch him all the time. Fred was a monster at the time. He's winning everything, and I'm like, this guy's a legend. And I was dumb enough to ask him if he needed a bag, you know, for his fish. And of course, he had a huge bag. And I was this kid that would just fish. This was the craziest reality. Was I was fishing around Cottonwood Cove, and I would fish all day long around the marina. And then all the guys would come in, and I would tell poor Steve Aller about how much weight I caught. Like, I'm catching 12, 13 pounds. I'm putting myself in third place. I'm in the marina. I'm around the points. And then Steve comes in, and he doesn't have a good limit. I'm like, "You need to fish right where I am. You need to fish in the marina." And he's like, "You have no idea how hard it is till you get a boat." And he was right. It was another world when I got a boat, but it took a long time to get a boat. So in the early days with Western Bass and One Bass US Opens, I'm sure you guys know about the Pro Draw, and the Pro Draw was just insane because I didn't have a boat, and I was saving up all my money to fish these tournaments. 16, 17 years old, going into college, I would save up all the money I had to fish a tournament, but I was Pro Draw. You remember those days, and there was no way to get a co-angler or shared information, so I didn't have a boat, and I would just show up at the tournament with very little practice. Steve Aller would normally take me to these tournaments, and there was one particular tournament that I was signing up for the US Opens, and I drew Rick Clunn. And as a kid, I'm like in college at the time, and I draw Rick Clunn, and I remember like shocked that I drew another legend, like so many of the guys I looked up to since I was a little boy. I was just a fishing fan, you know, from Southern California. And I remember walking up to Rick, and I said, "Hey, Rick," I said, "You know, nice to meet you, and looking forward to fishing with you." And he says, "Well, I'm not on them, so we can take your boat." What? Rick Clunn, could you imagine? I didn't have a boat, thank God, because I could never have fished with Rick Clunn in the back of my boat. Am I holding the rod right? Am I holding the trolling motor right? Am I casting right? I mean, Rick Clunn's watching me. I mean, you see him back there shaking his head going, "Oh my God, what have I done?" So he laughed. He said, "Well, I'm not catching them, so I guess we're taking my boat." And so Rick and I fished together, and it was another one of those tough US Opens back in the 80s, you know, or late 70s or 80s, when it was just so hard to catch a bass. You know, and everybody knows I won 2 US Opens, but not a lot of people know that I blanked my first 2 US Opens, and I mean blanked. I never caught a bass any one of the days, all 3 or 4 days, and my mom came out, my girlfriend came out, my friends came out, and I never even caught a fish. So yeah, I've won 2 US Opens, but I also blanked my first US Opens, and I think the message there is, man, just keep trying. Inside me that I want to do this for a living. I want to be a bass pro, you know, and I did not have an early success as a bass fisherman. You know, it's really hard for me. So now I'm going to my notes because I got so much that was in my head. You look at my notes or look over my shoulder? No. It's kind of cool right now being here at Lake Mojave because I'm now in my Livingston, you know, wrap boat, you know, and fishing around the points there, and literally looking out at where I grew up fishing as a kid, and to be here looking at that same young boy that was 12, 13 walking those banks, and now I have this incredible, fortunately I've worked really hard to make this career in fishing, and it's like, God, I can't believe that, you know, I'm still at this lake looking at these exact same places I walked as a kid. Let's see, US Open blank. I'm in this area here. Help me with this. Tropicana, I'm not on them. Okay, thanks. Help me with the notes here, because you helped me write this. See, this is how bad I am. I actually had him help me write this speech.
It wasn't this long.
Yes, it is. Funny story I have about, you guys will appreciate this. I didn't have a boat, so I ended up having to lie to my partners a lot of times, because if I had a bad draw, I would just say, yeah, my boat's over there. But if you let me take your boat, I'll let you take your boat if I get to go to my fish first. So I had this little thing where I was actually telling these guys, hey, I didn't have a boat, but I really knew where I wanted to go fishing. By then I had been with Steve Oliver for so long, and I had learned so many great spots on the lakes. You would get these draws, and you're like, I got a boat over there, but I really don't want to take my boat, so if you just let me take your boat. And I was actually having to play a game with getting to like share water with guys and use their boats, and it was a lot to make that happen. And I'm just babbling on and on, aren't I? Like I always do in my speeches. I know I got to talk about the guys that are in this thing. This is going to be really emotional because you know, Aaron and I, he was such a close friend. And Aaron, you know, John and I met Aaron when he was this kid. And I'll never forget, Carol took a picture of us at Havasu. Is it in the paper, the picture of, did you find it? I didn't see it. So Aaron took a picture of us. Carol took a picture of Aaron and I. That's not mine. It's not your phone. Is that your phone? Is that someone's phone? So we're at Havasu, and this young kid who was pumping gas, who was just this passionate fisherman, comes up to Murray and I and says, you know, how many boats have you guys won? You know, we kind of laugh because then we're in the heyday of our career. You remember that? And Aaron's just like, he goes, and we threw this number out there of our combined boats, and he goes, I want to win more I'm gonna win more boats than that. It wasn't I want to, it was I'm gonna, because that kid loved fishing, and he became such a close friend. And the only way I can describe Aaron is this was a kid that just wanted to catch fish. To break down how good he was, he just got bored. If he was fishing and he wasn't catching them an hour, he would do the craziest thing to make an adjustment just to catch fish. All he wanted to do was catch fish. Everything else was secondary. He was the purest, best, you know, intuitive fisherman. And a guy that the awards and all the trophies and all that other stuff, it was like Aaron was not into any of that. He was into catching a lot of fish and beating everybody. And we had our differences. I know a lot of you guys might have seen what happened at Falcon. You know, we thank God we patched that up with Leslie and him and I. You know, in times that, because we got into it with, you know, sharing water and both being into competing with each other. And I loved Aaron, and I miss him so much. And it was an honor, you know, to be included with him tonight in this. And Murray Murray was like a legend to me. And you know, the very first U.S. Open I won was in the springtime, and it was a bed fishing tournament. Now this is back when nobody bed fished out here, basically. If you can imagine that, this lake, Kent Brown will tell you, Byron was the guy that was driving around looking in the water with his hands in his pockets, and they said, what'd you drop in the water, Byron? Like they thought I dropped a fishing rod or my car keys or what did you have? And I was out there looking for fish in the U.S. Open, springtime, 1990, and I was leading it the first 2 days bed fishing, and Murray comes up to me and he says, if you catch 5 today, you win. And it was like this amazing, you're kidding me. He's like the god of the lakes, everything. He says, just don't blow it. If you catch 5 today, you win. And I knew I had 5 more bedfish to go to. So, John, you've been a huge influence on my life, and you have. I mean, you laugh about it, but John is a legend, and he's been so important to me in my life. I got to know John, and I got to know Skeet through all of our fishing, and don't look at me like that. And Brad Height's not heckling me, so I'm thankful for that today. But it's great to see all my friends here. Let's see, I'm going to go through a few more notes. Pat Donahoe, and what can I say about Pat? He was a guy that would fish around me and be the most courteous, nicest, considerate fisherman. If you were fishing, he was a guy that would, and Bobby Ellis will talk about this, you know, he was a guy on the water that when you were competing, if he was in an area, he would literally leave that area alone for you. And that happened on the second U.S. Open I won. We actually ran into each other, and Pat literally found out what I was doing and where I was fishing, and he goes, congratulations on what you found. You're in the best place to win this tournament. And again, I never saw him again. You know, and Pat wasn't the kind of guy that gets in your back pocket and grinds on you, but just lets you do your thing. I got one more funny story about John Murray. Can I tell that story about the drinking bar thing when I won the Open? Ran out of time. They don't even say you're running out of time. I'm just rambling on. I win the second U.S. Open. Skeet and all of us are at the U.S. Open. I win the thing. The person that got second was John Murray. And like we always do when we win the U.S. Open, we're going to go out cocktailing. Well, we're going to go out and have drinks at a bar, And John is out there, and all of a sudden Skeet runs up to me laughing, and he says, dude, he goes, have you seen Murray over there? He's ordering doubles and pouring them in the planter. Just running up that bar tab, the Byron Velvick US Open bar tab. Everything I won in that tournament, he was second, and this dude was just, ha ha ha, look at this, and he's pouring doubles out there in the planters, and just trying to make, I mean, Skeet killed me on that. You remember that, Skeet? Pouring drinks in there. Entire staff for making this happen. I'm honored to be a part of this group of guys. They're all amazing. I want to encourage you guys to, believe in your dreams, fish, no matter all the adversaries. Like I said, I didn't have a boat. I blanked my first 2 US Opens. It was nothing came easy for me. I wish my daughter was here. I am, to Fred's point, I retired from fishing 6 years ago professionally to raise my daughter. And it's something I had to do. So it wasn't even a decision. It was just something I had to do. Thank you. People ask me, wasn't that a hard thing to decide? I go, there was like no decision. When you found out your daughter needed you and she was 7 or 6, it's time to quit. So I called Mercury, I called Triton, I called all my sponsors, and I'm thankful for Trica. They've picked me up and they make a fantastic, amazing rod line. And so Livingston and Trica are still behind me, even though I'm retired, which is a blessing because it lets me come here and see you guys. It lets me fish with you guys, even though my daughter hates it when I come here. So I wish my mom was here. I wish Steve Oliver was here. I wish I could have brought my daughter. But it's a passion, and I'm grateful for being here, and I want to thank you very much for letting me be a part of this. Thanks.
You're welcome. Everybody, a round of applause for Byron Velvick. This one's a really tough one for me. Something I wanted to do last year, but we couldn't do it last year because he was being inducted into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame with bass. And we waited this year to induct Aaron Martens, which was a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame induction. Leslie, thank you so much for coming all the way out here and accepting this award. Carol, his mother, come on up, Carol. Round of applause for Leslie, Carol Martens, mother and wife of the world famous and dearly missed 3-time US Open champion, Aaron Martens.
I love public speaking, and I'm the last one, so I'm going to make it short. I feel like it's a love fest, and I had to be here, of course. But I look out and I see so many friends. Aaron and I made so many friends in 30 years, and a lot of you, we're still close friends. Thank goodness for Facebook and tournaments. But I actually left my notes in the car. I just had a couple of bullet points here. It's hard to explain, but Aaron and I, we love fishing, but we love people. And from when he was little, it was always important how people felt. And if you won a tournament or you did well, Aaron congratulated you, even if he blanked. And sportsmanship was huge in our family. So I wanted to point that out. These guys have said so many wonderful things. I feel like they said a lot of what I would want to say. Pat Donahoe, I'm going to say something they didn't say. We used to have breakfast together all the time. How many of you had breakfast with Pat Donahoe at tournaments at Lake Mead? We used to always meet at a coffee shop early in the morning, and Aaron and I really bonded with Pat in the early years. So he was a very close friend. Same with Fred. I mean, I just know so many of these people. Byron, I won't say anything about. But you know what? If you know John Murray and Byron and a few other people here, even Mark down here, Sheldall, they call me Mom. And that's actually, Byron's been calling me Mom for years, and I talk to him like a mother. I tried to straighten him out a number of times like that. And John Morrow, he was a bridegroom at Aaron and Leslie's wedding. And there's just so many people here that have such history with us. So I won't go into all that. In fact, I encourage you to read your Wombass newspaper. There's an article that Mike wrote in there about Aaron, and he got a lot of the notes from some of the articles I've written. So if you want to know more, please read that. And when you get to the end, I know you'll cry, but everybody does, so it's okay. I know Aaron would be extremely proud. He really liked the recognition, we all do. But he knew that when he got recognized, it was genuine. And there was a lot of bombs. I mean, he just had so many ups and downs in bass fishing. But the one story in the newspaper was Aaron coming home from his second U.S. Open. I mean, he was barely able to drive a car. He was probably 18, 19, 20, something like that. But he lamented all the way home how he only got second place. He didn't blink like Byron did. But I remember it like yesterday, going down Highway 40 and him just had his black Chevy truck and, I'll never win another tournament. I'll never win another Open. This is the closest I'll ever get. And he went on. I could not console him. And look what happened. And I kept saying, someday, Aaron, someday. But he really did love fishing. The other thing was that he loved his family. And I've cried so much, I can probably get through this just fine, so don't worry about me. He loved Leslie, was the best thing that ever happened. Oh, no. Leslie was the best thing that ever happened to Aaron. She really can take a lot of appreciation from all of us. She did all the hard work. Aaron just had fun fishing, but Leslie always knew where he was going, how he was going to get there, how much it would cost, pay all the bills. She did all that. And she got to speak at the bass induction, which was very difficult, but she did a beautiful job. And we've had quite an emotional 2 years. 2 years ago, this week, we were with Aaron, and he was in his final days, and it was very painful. All he said is, I just want to be with Jesus. And he meant it. He went so peaceful, and it was all good for us, too. A lot of people who are in this room saw him in those days. Billy was there all the time, talking to Aaron on the phone and stuff. I know the stories that come out of this room with Skeet and everybody. You guys loved Aaron. And what I wrote in the, what I said in the article was, you guys all thought of Aaron as your little brother, didn't you? Yeah, you tried to corrupt him. I wanted to talk to you about that. True?
That was Byron.
They tried to set him up with hookers and stuff. Oh my God. That wasn't in my notes.
Carol, you were the last one I was worried about something coming out of your mouth. I was worried about Byron for sure, but hey.
Anyway, I'm not going to say much more except that we truly, truly love you. And I'll be coming to these things. I want you to know I'm over 81 years old. And so I still have a boat and a truck, and I go fishing every week. I got a guy down here who's going to let me fish in his boat for the next 3 days at Havasu. I couldn't handle another Open right now. It's hard work. And anyway, I'm just so grateful for Billy and Juan Bass. We've been with Juan Bass since, I think it was around 1990. We started fishing with Juan Bass, with Harvey Noslin. Billy is, to me, the best tournament director. And I say that honestly. Besides that, I love men that cry. If you don't know that already, I do. I think it's so brave and courageous when guys can shed a tear over love. It's all love, that's what it is. So in our family, I'm proud to say that God's always been number one. We've had a lot of losses. Some of you, how many of you have a really good fishing buddy or have had a really good fishing buddy? Somebody you fished with a lot. How do you feel when that person passes away? It's devastating, isn't it? It's like, people don't understand why this has been so hard for me. I not only lost my youngest son, but I lost my best friend and my fishing buddy. I mean, just a few years ago, just 3 years ago, we were fishing in Alabama and we fished at Castaic. Even after his surgery's on, we still fished, and I think that was my bestest time, fishing with Aaron. We were truly blessed. And Aaron was ready to meet his maker, and he's fishing. A lot of you know where he's at. He's already shared his holes with you, where he's gonna be. But my advice these days is real simple. The scripture says, if you diligently seek God, that's everybody here. You just in your own way, diligently seek him. He will reward you. And he rewarded me with all this pain and stuff. I have joy, peace, and love. And so I just want to bless you guys and have a great tournament. I'll be watching you on Wi-Fi.
Round of applause for Carol, Leslie, and the entire Martens family, please.